Hey Oilers fans, welcome into this week's Coaches Show. The Oilers only have one game this week as we're filming this early, coming out on the Monday, but we're filming this before the Friday game. And of course tomorrow, if you're watching this when it comes out, to be playing an Education Day game against Kansas City as well, so first day game of the season. But we'll take a look back at what we've got so far.
We have more than one day game?
I think there might be one later on in the year as well. Jeez. That Wichita has late in the year, so that they rescheduled. Yeah, but with that, we take a look at the season so far. 6 games played, 4 wins, 2 losses, and a nice 4-game win streak in that span as well against some really good teams. And Idaho is a team that, outside of playing against Tulsa, has really been almost unblemished outside their loss to Utah early in the year. And with that series, it was 3 games here at home. The games were tight, 2 of them being 1-goal games, and then obviously that Saturday game, a big 3-goal victory for the team. But what is it that you saw in those 3 games against Idaho specifically that made the team successful on the ice?
Honestly, Zach, it's our work ethic. I mean, we've got a group, and you always look for that in a team. Depending on the personnel, sometimes you get portions of that. But as a collective group this year so far, I mean, that's one of the things that I've been most impressed with is just the absolute work ethic that the guys have shown from every game all season long. And you mentioned Idaho coming in, and we're early in the season. Everybody's trying to feel each other out. And I think that so far this year, the teams that we played, Rapid City, Kansas City, and now Idaho, I like how we match up. I mean, it's, and we've yet to see a few teams in our division and then outside of our division later in the season. But so far, I've been very impressed, and just the effort that the guys have been giving me. I mean, the games. I mean, I'll be the first to admit they're not the prettiest games, but we're finding a way to win. And the Thursday night game against Idaho, honestly, we got outplayed by a long stretch there in the first period, but we hung tough and came out. I think we were only down 1-0 or something like that after the first period. So, we've been resilient, and we got to maintain that. And we've been getting some very good goaltending. Daniel Manella has been playing excellent. Roman Durney had a decent game on Sunday. I mean, he only gave up 2 goals, but you can't really fault him on either goal against. So as long as you get the goaltending, and I think our D-core is starting to really kind of come together in what we're looking for them to do. And then again, just the overall work ethic has been excellent.
You mentioned the goaltending. You have 3 goaltenders on the roster here, 3 really good goaltenders. And a lot of times you see teams when they're carrying 3 goalies, and there might even be a 3rd goalie that has zeros across the board, such as Idaho when they came here with Kupski. He hasn't played for them yet this season, and sometimes you see a team maybe have an affiliated guy that's kind of breaking himself into pro hockey and struggling off the bat. But you've got three goaltenders that have really shown great strides. Daniel Manella, the rookie, has the best statistics. Obviously, we know what Roman Durney can do, and we're also familiar with how good Mason McDonald is with how he's played against the team and how he's appeared in the game and a half that he's played as well. Does that make it kind of hard to juggle on who you're going to start each night?
Yeah, I mean, it certainly does. I mean, they're all deserving to play the game. You look at Kupski in Idaho, and like you said, he hasn't played a game yet. I think sometimes early in the season, teams will tend to carry 3 goalies just in case, right? Like in case somebody gets hurt, somebody gets called up, we need to have a goaltender in-house. So, but our situation with our group of goaltenders, again, like you said, Mason McDonald's proven. I mean, he's a good player. Roman Durney's on an NHL contract with Anaheim, and we saw what Roman can do last year. Daniel Manella was the wild card, and he's basically, I mean, he's shown us that he belongs here, and it's not. There's no questions in my mind other than who's going to start of where I feel the confidence in out of the 3 of them. I mean, it's equal across the board. So I guess it's a good thing to have. When you have a light schedule like we do right now, it's not.
Right.
If we're in the thick of it and we're playing 4 games in 5 nights, it makes it a little bit easier for me. As you said in the beginning of the interview, like we only have the 1 game on Friday this week, and then we play Tuesday. Then it kind of heats up a little bit, but over this play Sunday, and then we play Friday, and within a span of 10, 11 days, we only got 2 games.
Right.
So that makes it a little bit tougher on me. I guess just as a human being, somebody's gonna be upset and disappointed that they're not the guy playing that night. But there's a lot of hockey to be played, and we saw it last year where we started the season with 3 guys, and again, I think Williams was a little disappointed he wasn't playing. Durney was a little disappointed. Ole Eriksson-Ek was playing the majority of our games. Ole gets called up. And a month later, we got Durney and Williams both hurt. So, I guess the best way to put it for a goaltender in a 3-man rotation or situation is you just got to be patient. I mean, it's gonna come your way, and you can't get down, you can't get mad about it. It's just what it is.
With Daniel Manella, he didn't play last season. We know Mason McDonald didn't play last season either, but Manella's come in, been a fantastic goaltender so far. What do you think it is about his game that is so effective? I mean, he's unblemished so far on the season. Seems to have some quick reaction speed as well, especially watching practice the other day in the short game. He looked really nice and tight. What is kind of unique about his game? Well,
exactly that. He's technically sound, and he's in the right spots. And outside of the game in Rapid City, which I would say that he looked nervous. We won 4-2, but I do believe he looked nervous, and rightfully so. It was his first professional start.
Right.
Since then, though, you can just tell he's calmed down, and he's just making the saves that he needs to make. What I like about him too is he's got a good feel for when to take a whistle. Whereas maybe other goalies a puck would come in and they'd throw it in the corner, whereas we need a whistle at that point. He's got a good a feel for the game as far as that goes, and he knows when that whistle should be taken and when he needs to freeze the puck. So I think just outside of that first game, he's just shown a lot more confidence, and that maybe nervousness is lost. He has lost that nervousness that he potentially had that first game, and that was my observation. But he still came out with the win.
And we talked about players, just having strong work ethic. We saw Jimmy Soper come in off the wing halfway through the game on the Saturday, and then on the Sunday starting off at the center position, or I should say on the Thursday and coming in on the Saturday and the Sunday. And with him, would you say that maybe a comparison for fans that are still kind of getting, I guess maybe familiar with the roster, you go back to 18-19, is he kind of in that mold of a Scott Henniger kind of player where finishing the checks and good on the dot?
Yeah, I mean, and that's probably the answer to your question there, is that he was our best centerman on faceoffs, and so what happens is that it kind of rotates. So I had the power play go out, 2 lines that went out. Soper, Coombs, Crom were not on the power play that evening on Saturday night, so I would always come back with that line with Soper in the middle, and then throughout the late in the second period and then into the third, I left him in the middle, and he was doing great on faceoffs. He was our best out of the 3, and so I just left him there and went with it again on Sunday. Come Friday night, we'll probably have Jack Dormus back in the lineup, so we'll probably move back to the wing. But it's a good tool for me to have of a guy that is a winger, I guess, can play center, but is also good on faceoffs. And it's one of the things that if anything this season so far that I could really point at is one of our struggles is winning faceoffs, and not just winning. Like a win and a loss can be determined a lot of ways, but where we're losing draws clean, and I mean, pucks are just getting boom right back to their point where we've been working with the guys. If you're not going to win them, it's got to be at least a 50-50 puck. I mean, you got to jam it up and allow the puck to sit there so we have a chance to win the puck in the scrum. And we've gotten better at that. And but it's a work in progress. But Jimmy, throughout the 2 games that I had him at center, he was definitely our best percentage-wise on the faceoffs.
A player that's produced well offensively, and we talked about it too. He's got a good 200-foot game. That's Dylan Sadowy. and not technically a veteran by games played, but you look at how long he's been in the league, and if it wasn't for injuries and being somebody that was a call up and down, he would be there in that veteran status. What's he brought to the lineup and to the locker room as a kind of an older player? Because obviously a very young team with tons of rookies and not a lot of returning guys.
I think he's brought the details of the game that I've asked him to bring. He's going to score. Like he'll get his points. It's the other parts of the game that he's got to make sure that he's on top of, and he's done that. And one thing that's really stood out is his shot blocking, especially on the penalty kill. I mean, he's committed. He's sacrificing his body to block shots, and sometimes that's not as easy as it sounds. Like it's hard to get guys to do that, and he's been doing that. I think system-wise, and I don't like the term bought in. I mean, it makes it sound like guys are not agreeing with the coach, but he's playing the systems to which we put in place, and to the best of his ability. And so when I talk about the details of the game, those are the things that he's doing well. And then on the other side of it, he's producing point-wise. He's getting his points, and that's one of the things that we brought him in to do, obviously. And as long as he just keeps playing his consistent game, that the points will always follow him.
We've seen 2 of the 3 returning players, in the lineup so far this season, and both of them not really bona fide offensive superstars, but they both put up good numbers so far, both in the 5-point club through 6 games. Cromwell with a pair of goals, and Mike McKee with 5 assists, which is tied for the team lead. And you look at McKee and Crom is it just them doing what they need to do, and it's paying dividends, and they've just kind of become so accustomed to your systems and the style of play and the level of play here in the ECHL that they've kind of found the ability to also contribute offensively.
Well, there's ebbs and flows with guys like Crom and McKee. I mean, you're going to get groups of games where they're going to get their points, and then all of a sudden they don't score or get on the score sheet for the next 10. But that's what Mike and what Cromer bring is not what I'm necessarily looking for. It's a bonus. I mean, I can't lie. But I mean, we look back at last year, what Cromer didn't score for first 25 games or something like that, and then he had 3 one night in Wichita. So he's got the ability to do it, and Mike too. I mean, one of the things with Mike is that the majority of his assists that he's got so far is just his ability to move the puck quick out of the defensive zone and get the puck up to the forwards, and then ends up getting a secondary assist, and it's not pretty, but it gets the job done, and he's doing that. He's doing a good job of that. And Cromer's goal, on Thursday night, just he's in the dirty area. Go to the hard places of the ice that you might take a punch in the head, you might get a whack across the wrist, but that's where you score goals, and he's getting rewarded for it right now.
Another player that's a rookie right now on the defensive end is Tanner Leschinski coming in. Always a question mark when guys are rookies coming through, and he came through the Canadian college system. And it seems maybe that he's kind of progressed a bit as this year's gone on, as a lot of rookies do, but it seemed that he was maybe getting a little bit more responsibility, maybe being out there in some kind of key moments of the game as this last week especially went on. What have you seen so far out of his game?
His compete level, I mean, he gives it everything he's got out there. What he lacks in certain areas, he just gives it, and I think that he scored the power play goal in Kansas City. I mean, he's not an offensive guy, yet he's got some offense in him. And there's another guy that, I think he was maybe a little nervous coming in, not necessarily in the games yet in training camp, but he's just trying to figure things out. But Tanner's been very good for us, and again, it's the work ethic that I'm impressed with. Now, putting him in situations that, as you said, like important situations, be it penalty kill or late in the game, when it's all said and done, I mean, outside of Mike McKee, we really don't have much experience back there. So everybody's got to play like a non-rookie, and Tanner's been given that opportunity, and he's playing well. And I like the way he's played. I think he's brought exactly what he was described as he was advertised as. Whereas sometimes you get scouting reports from either former coaches, former players on certain players, and they say this is what they do. And then they get here and it's like, no, they don't. You know, like I don't see any of that. Tanner was a guy that was, you know, basically defensive first, and is going to play a heavier game. Like he doesn't shy away from the body contact and playing a strong physical game, and but can potentially bring some offense. So right now, like I said, he's doing exactly the way he was described to me when I was recruiting him this summer.
And on the overall team front of things, through 6 games, do you feel like your team is maybe playing a bit heavier than we saw last year? I mean, obviously it's early in the year, but do you think that the guys are really doing a good job finishing checks and just doing what they're asked to do each and every shift? As you know, you mentioned a couple times in pregame interviews last season that some guys would bring the physicality, but they almost had to be told and reminded, and then, you know, maybe it's more of a default this year.
I think so. I mean, you look at the guys that we do have. I mean, you know, Crom's going to finish his hits. Mikey's going to finish his hits. But again, Hilderman, Leschinski on the back end, Tremblay. You know, these guys are playing physical games. Coombs is hitting every chance he can. Jimmy Soper's like almost breaking the boards when he hits guys. He hits with a purpose. Mm-hmm. You know, when I say you know, a purpose means like you get hit by him, you know it. Mm-hmm. And so. Overall, and then you go down the lineup, even you know, Carson Denomi, he's finishing his hits, Gilmore, like every guy is just, it's, you know, some might hit a little bit harder than the next guy, yet we are playing a heavier game. And I think it's misconstrued sometimes that, you know, heavier doesn't mean that we're going to fight, and there's going to be brawls every night. And unfortunately for some of the fans, I'm sure that that's what they would like, yet, you know, I think correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think we've had a fight yet this year. And those will come. I mean, it's just the nature of the beast, yet we don't need to be. You know what I mean? But we can still play a physical game and play a physical brand of hockey. And I think that we're doing that collectively as a team right now. And it has to be that way. And it's in order for us to be successful, along with the work ethic, we have to play a physical game.
And following that same thread, playing Kansas City on this Friday. We've seen Kansas City there at Cable Dome Arena once this season. A really strong performance by your team coming out with a big win. But that game had a lot of moments of physicality it seemed on both ends. And when you have two teams that enjoy hitting, you know, you look at a guy like Laurent Ouellette, who, you know, like you said with Jimmy Soper, hits with a purpose, and you know it's coming, and you know when it's happened.
Yeah.
You know, is there, when you're playing against a team like that, is that just a message you got to stress still as well, that hey, you can't let them dominate the physical side of things? Well,
and I think we're going to see more and more of that. You know, and I'm not saying that Rapid City or Idaho are a soft team, but their makeup doesn't have that as much anymore. You know, you got Garrett Klotz in Rapid City, yet the overall team, it wasn't, you know, they weren't very physical games by either team. I mean, you know, there was hits thrown and stuff like that, but Idaho, same thing. You know, they don't necessarily, they're not built that way. They're more of a skilled team than maybe a heavier team. Kansas City, then you're starting to get into a little bit of a heavier game. You know, Meichin and Ouellette and Angeli and some of these guys, like, you know, they play a heavy game. Allen we haven't seen yet, but you know that's what you're expecting out of Allen. And then Utah, again, another team that we haven't seen yet, but usually always has that element. So I think that there's going to be more of that when Wichita also, sorry I didn't include them, but there'll be more of that type of more physicality as far as the games go, depending on the opponent. And from what we've seen so far, definitely Kansas City brings most of that out of the three teams we've seen this season so far.
We're not even 10% of the way through the season quite yet, but you take a look, at what point of the year, obviously there's ups and downs, ebbs and flows, but at what kind of point of the year do you usually think that you start to maybe see the structure of what the division standings are going to be in the long run of things? Obviously, once teams start building those points, you know, the standings change less and less. For the first 15 games, you know, a team that starts off at 1 might be in that 7th spot or 6th spot, depending on what division you're in, before you know it. And is there a kind of a time period that you see and look back and assess and kind of see where each team sits and what they bring to the table?
Well, I think one of the things that we need to do, which we've fallen into the trap the last couple of years, is that we put ourselves back too far, and not on purpose. Believe me, I mean, it's not something that just we go in with a game plan saying, oh, we're gonna 20 game mark at the end of the season, we're gonna turn it on.
Right.
But that's what we've had to do. So, you know, what I would love to see, and it's easier said than done, is just for us to keep pace, and then we're gonna get ourselves a 9 out of 10 win streak. You know, whereas last year, you know, we got ourselves in the playoff picture because of that, but it was mandatory. We had to, or we were done.
Right.
And so if we can maintain and you know, to answer your question, I really don't look at what point in the season, because teams change so much. I mean, depending on your call-ups, your injuries, your guys that get sent down. I mean, you can go through a stretch of 20 games and you're world beaters. All of a sudden, you get a couple of injuries and 3 or 4 call-ups, and you're struggling to win a game. So every little bit of the season, it doesn't really matter to me. You got to maintain that mentality that, you know, we're out to get points on every given night, and you know, that can't change. That mentality has to be there, and just again to keep pace. Like, yeah, I'd love to be 10-0 at the beginning of the season and just start running away with it. Yet history will show that we can't fall back to 6th and 7th place by Christmas and then realize, oh, we better turn it up now. And to our credit, we've been able to do that. Came up short 2 years ago when COVID hit. I mean, we were in a playoff spot, but it took us a while to get there. And so we don't want that. We want to be fighting for the playoffs, but from a better advantage point.
And we talked about this a little bit in the pregame interview on Sunday, and the fact that last year a lot of these guys that are on this team were playing in the Southern Professional League purely a numbers game. There's only 14 teams playing last season, and you know, also less AHL teams playing, and you know, of course, less guys going overseas with visa stuff. So it was a pretty deep league, and then some of these guys that are obviously ECHL level players coming back, and 3 guys that you have from Pensacola are able to win SPHL championships last year: Matsushima, Ernst, and Legrone. And you know, it's a different league, and obviously you're hungry to win every single year. But do you think that getting that kind of the taste of the championship and then having maybe the confidence after a few games, knowing you're ready to play here in the ECHL, can push you toward wanting that once again, because you kind of know what that feels like?
Definitely. I mean, winning's winning. I don't care what level you are. I mean, look at the Jackalopes. Men's league, you guys want to win, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
for sure, 100%.
You're out there to win.
Exactly.
So I don't care what level you're on. You want to win, and whether it be the Southern Professional League, the Federal League. I mean, you know, winning breeds winning, and you got to learn how to win. I know it's maybe it's a cliche, another cliche by coaches, but there is a way, like you know. I've made reference to it when I won the Kelly Cup in Alaska. It's like I didn't know until I knew. Like, I didn't know what it took because I'd never won a championship. Right. So I know now. I know the grind. I know how I had an idea, but I didn't know exactly how it was. You know, just the grind of it to get it done. So, you know, those guys that were in Pensacola last year, you know, albeit they only had 5 teams, it's still a championship, and they had to go through a lot of adversity to get to what, you know, to raise that trophy at the end of the season. So, you know, those guys do have that ingrained in them now, and you know, I think looking back on my recruitment during the summer, that's where, I mean, my eye went that way to the guys that were on Pensacola last year, because there's a bunch of guys that came to us off a championship team. And like I said, everybody wants to win. I don't care what level you're at.
And you have talking about with Kansas City a game coming up this week, and you've got a little bit more data every single game that is played, not just by you but by other teams heading in. And are there certain things that you've seen so far in these 6 games that you want to continue? And is there specific stuff that you look at and say, hey, this is something, if we want to continue winning, you know, 4 out of every 6 games or so, that we really need to tighten up. Otherwise, they may not come as easy down the road.
Well, definitely. I mean, I think we've gotten away with, and I can tell you right now, is that we've gotten away with slow starts. And the Idaho series was a good example where we were outplayed early in the game, but then we just kind of stuck with it kept the score close. But I'm telling you right now, Zach, I mean, you're one of those nights after 10 minutes, you're gonna be down 4-0 and the game's over. So somehow, some way, we got to get off to a better start. I had somebody ask me, like, do you tell the guys, like, we got to get off to a good start? Of course, that's a main focus. But some nights it just doesn't happen, and we have not been that team. And it's even the Kansas City game. When I think back in the 5-2 win in Kansas City, we were kind of on our heels, and we got to find a way to be better. And it's not about getting off to. Believe me, I'd love to get off to that 4-0 start, but there's got to be a kind of a give and take. Like okay, both teams are going to be going back and forth. Whereas a couple games there against Idaho, we were just stuck in our zone for the whole first 8 minutes of the first period. So we got to be better there. Definitely, I mean, there's a few systematic things that we can tighten up on. It's frustrating sometimes where you'll practice things and they don't get put into the practice doesn't get put into play. You're standing there and I'm thinking, we just did this yesterday in practice, and yet the game is so fluid. I mean, things happen quickly in hockey, so it's understandable. Yet there are situations where we can get better at. One of the things I think we can get better at as of late is just our exits out of our own zone, and a lot of it becomes, at least lately against Idaho, thinking back, it's just the ball battles. Coming up especially when the puck's coming up the strong side, we're having a lot of trouble getting that puck out, and then that's how they're maintaining offensive zone pressure. And I think we can be better at that. We've been working on it. So there's little things. Our power play, even though we've got a good percentage right now, I think that's a lot. It's a little deceiving because we haven't had as many power plays. I think if you look at power plays for and power plays against, it's the other team's got half as many as we do right now. And because of that, our percentage is decent because we've actually scored on our power play, but we scored goals that are out of the power play set. Like we've gotten lucky. I mean, call a spade. But we got to get our power play going, and penalty killing's coming along. I think we're starting to get on the same page now, as early as the season is right now. But there's always room for improvement. But going back to what I said right off the hop, as long as the work ethic's there, we're getting the effort from the guys, all that will get better as we move along. And that's our hopes, at least.
This season, the shot total's not as high as what we saw last season, but conversion rate certainly seems to be a bit higher than last year. But you obviously don't have Pleskatch in the lineup currently, and then we talked about it. Maybe making appearances Friday. And Doremus, he was leading the league in shots through his first 3 games, had 17. And do you think those guys coming back, whenever it is each one of them comes back into the lineup, can really help that shot total? We obviously know that they can both put pucks on the net. Obviously, you have to have possession in the offensive zone to do that, but is that something that you kind of see as maybe being a bit lower because the big shot producers aren't quite in the lineup?
Well, I guess so, but I mean, you can look at that too, and we on Thursday night we had 3 shots in the first period. Well, I think we only had the puck in their zone 3 times.
Yeah.
So yes, it goes with territorial advantage, obviously. We put up a good shot total on Sunday. We didn't get the win, but you're right. I think that one of the things that we've done very well, you look at Coombs' goal, you look at Gilmore's goal on Saturday night, where we got an opportunity and we took advantage of it. Okay, Sunday afternoon, we had a puck on the power play, wide open net, and somehow we didn't find a way to score. And if you really want to break it down, well, that's the difference in the game. I mean, it's a 1-goal game. Unfortunately, there was Gilmore lost his stick on the penalty kill also, and then Idaho guy shot it away, which is an automatic penalty, which got missed by the ref. And he said to me, he didn't see it happen. But that should have been, there's, again, the difference in the game. But our ability to score when we get chances is something that we've done much better so far this year than we have in the past. And I often say to the guys, I know you're not trying to score, but we got to find a way. you look back, you hate to keep looking back, but last year, we're putting up 45, 50 shots a night and scoring 2 goals. And they weren't all perimeter shots. Like we had breakaways, we had 2-on-1s that we just were not executing on that would have made a difference, not only in that game, but in the course of the season, the wins and losses. And so the games that maybe you can come away and say, it was a pretty evenly played game, or maybe we might have got outplayed, but we took advantage of our opportunities and made the difference in them. And that's one of the key things that to our success so far this season has been that we're bearing our chances.
You'd also mentioned power play percentage, but you said maybe a few lucky goals and not really coming to the power play system and structure itself. And then you look, obviously personnel is a big part of power play. You have so many new players. You're still kind of trying to feel where everyone fits in. At the beginning of the year, it was obvious you were going to have Nathan LaRose out there kind of sitting on that left point, right-handed shot guy that could rip it and pick his spot while shooting fast. And Jared Hildeman obviously has a very heavy shot himself. And you take a look at things that you're still trying to plug and play with different guys in different situations this point of the season. Obviously no one's spot is ever guaranteed on any role, but is there still guys you think, well, maybe I'd like to see him here, or maybe I want to see what this guy can do instead of this guy?
Yeah, and our power play, again, like it's something we're working on, and it's a work in progress. One thing that I can say is that our overall skill set isn't necessarily the highest, and yet, but that's fine. I mean, we'll grind some games out, we'll score goals when we need to, but it shows on the power play, and not having, if you look at what Pleshkash brings to the power play, what LaRose brought so far this season, where he's the quarterback, and then we lose our quarterback on the power play. It's it's something to be looked at and tinkered with, and for us too and there's some guys that I guarantee over the weekend sitting on the bench thinking I could do that, so. Power play is not something that's just given to you. I mean, you need to earn it. And if by chance as we move forward here, guys are not producing and getting it done. Now, you use the word lucky goal. I don't know. I shouldn't have used lucky goal. Any goal in the power play is obviously a good goal.
Right.
My point was that we're just your typical power play set and in zone hasn't necessarily produced the goals that we've been getting. And you look at Denoni had the breakaway that we got the rebound on. Even Gilmore's goal which was off of a set, but it was just kind of off of a broken play the other night. So we're getting the goals, we're taking advantage of our opportunities on the power play in a non-traditional power play way, I guess the best way to put it. But getting back to your question, we'll always be looking. There might be somebody that I'm missing that actually I throw out there and does really well on the power play, to which I didn't think he could,
right?
Or didn't see that in his game. So it's always a mix and match thing, and hopefully, I know that Nathan LaRose was a big part of that. And if Rosie was to come back, and hopefully, I don't know what's going on in San Diego at this point, but we might see him back again sooner than later. And if we do, then I think that's going to really improve our power play.
Final question to wrap things up is, we're filming it this week, it's coming out next week, but the game on the 12th, the lone game this week, it's here at home. It's early in the season, and obviously you want to kind of get games in early and get a look at things, but with the team being at home this week and just the singular game, do you think that allows guys, especially a lot of new guys on a team, to kind of bond and spend some time away from hockey and find their way into some different activities to figure something out?
I guess so. I mean, you would hope they're all bonding as it is. I mean, I think a bunch of the guys are going to go to the concert this Saturday night, and there's team bonding going on at all times. Now, you're right. I mean, you get into 4 and 5 situations, like there's less time to hang out, I guess, right. The best way to put it. So it's been good for us that way. The weekends that we've missed what was it, two weekends ago now, it seems like, but, you know, we had the picnic the one day with the fans, we had the party the one night for the game that was postponed, but both those days we didn't, because of the shift in the schedule, we didn't have ice time.
Right.
And so, you know, all of a sudden you start getting these, you know, situations where, and that was unforeseen, that the ice would go down at the BOK, but then all of a sudden we're scrambling because now all the ice time at the OIC is already booked up.
Right.
And so that's our only option, and because of it, we didn't have practice time over the weekend. Now, we did have the luxury after that, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, then we played Thursday, Saturday, Sunday against Idaho, so we were fine. I mean, but early in the season right now, you know, getting back to what you were saying about just what we need to work on, well, you can't work on that unless you get practice time, but we had a good week of practice this week, and going into the weekend, and then Tuesday morning in Kansas City next week. You know, I think we're well prepared for this, and you know, this one game this weekend, I mean, the message has got to be like, there's nothing to save it for.
Right.
You know, we only got the one game. You got to put it all out there, and you know, make sure the effort's there.
Awesome. Well, thanks for taking the time to do this for the first coaches show this season, and for fans at home watching this, keep your eyes peeled, as we'll be back to doing some in-person coaches shows as the year goes on, but just kind of wanted to get one rolling here right off the hop. But we look forward to seeing everybody out at some different local businesses and restaurants, and it should be a ton of fun.
All right. Thanks, Zack.